All right, time to tackle justifying integer subtraction. Just as subtraction on a number line made things more difficult, this is the one that students inevitably mess up on year after year after year. This is the hardest one. The first thing to note is this very important piece right here, add the opposite. There's a lovely little mnemonic device that some teachers use that you will not hear stated in this video because I don't say it, but you can ask your teacher about that, any other teacher about that, and they may tell you what that is. So knowing add the opposite. What add the opposite means is leave that first number alone. Don't do anything to it. Change the subtraction to addition, and then change the sign of the second number. Leave the first number alone, change subtraction to addition, and then change the sign, make it the opposite of the second number. At that point, it's now an addition problem, and all you have to do is follow the rules of addition. So, let's take a look at our first example. 2 minus negative 8. So the first thing we need to do is add the opposite. That turns into 2 plus negative 8. We know it's going to turn into 2 plus negative 8 because we add the opposite. Leave the first number alone, change subtraction to addition. 8's positive, it becomes negative. Now we can follow the addition rules. The signs are different, which means we need to subtract. And we know when we subtract, we're going to subtract at 8 minus 2, and we get 6. Now we know we have to take the sign of the larger absolute value, and the larger sign is negative. 8 is negative, 8 is larger. Therefore, we know we end up having more negatives. And so the answer we end up with is negative 6. Let's try the second one. Negative 2, take away 8. We know the first thing to do is add the opposite. So if we're going to add the opposite, we say leave the first number alone, change subtraction to addition, and do the opposite sign of the second number. So negative 2 minus 8 turns into negative 2, subtraction becomes addition, and a positive 8 is now negative 8. Remember that we put those parentheses in because saying plus negative looks funny without them. Now we can follow the rules of addition. In this case, the signs are the same. Both of them are negative. So we know we can add 2 plus 8, and we get 10, and then we keep the sign, which is a negative. So the answer ends up being negative 10 to the problem 2 take away 8. Take a look at the third example, 2 minus negative 8. We know the first step has to be add the opposite. A lot of students see add the opposite and assume that that means that they can go in and do this idea of add the opposite on addition problems. You cannot. It will only work on subtraction. If we are going to add the opposite, we know the first number stays the same, subtraction turns to addition, and we take the opposite sign of the second number. Negative 8 is negative, the opposite of it is positive, so our 2 minus negative 8 turns into 2 plus 8. Now we follow the rules of the addition rules. The signs are the same, positive. This means we can add 2 plus 8 equals 10, and we keep the sign, which is positive. So our answer to 2 minus negative 8 happens to be positive 10. Looking onto the last one, we end up with 2 minus negative 8. Step 1 is add the opposite. So we know that add the opposite means negative 2 minus negative 8. We have negative 2 is going to stay the same. Subtraction turns into addition, and a negative 8 goes to the opposite sign, which is positive 8. Follow the rules for addition. The signs are different, So we have to subtract. And we know when we subtract, we want to subtract it with what we view as the bigger number first. So it's 8 minus 2, which is 6. Now we can say that the larger sign is positive. In this case, look at the addition problem. Don't go back to that negative. Don't go back to the subtraction problem. Use the addition problem. Negative 2 minus 8. The larger sign is positive, or you can say that you have more positives. Again, they mean the same thing. You don't have to say both. So our answer to negative 2 minus negative 8 is going to be positive 6.